Okay, 120 on this board after 2 days since my last OAV. The diatomaceous earth is pretty wet. I can feel because the board's real heavy. It's like, what is the temp? It's in the 50s. They were flying like crazy. It wasn't even 50 degrees this morning and they were buzzing. And sprinkle this around here. Makes it look like hell, but once that dries out a bit, it might stop a bug from getting up there. Oops. Kind of soaking up. The double bubble is on the bottom here is kind of losing its reflectivity a little bit from me scraping off this DE every time. Anyway, it's still kind of wet, but let's get these gals back. You know, this lets a lot of air in to the bottom whenever I do this. So I'm gonna put the screen back in. Got most of the mites off it. And we'll button this one back up. I want to check the feed because I did give them some pollen patties. Let's see real quick. It's 56. I haven't added dew point yet. I'm going to add that down here. So up in the super frame 2 it's 70 and it's 75 humidity, and then on the other side of the super on top here it's 83. There's brood nearby, like within a frame or two, and humidity is lower. So it's crazy how well they can regulate that. There's up in the feeder. It's 75, so it's nice and warm up in the feeder. So they'll break away from cluster and go and eat. That's one thing about a condensing hive. You keep it where it's comfortable. They don't have to cluster up and starve when there's food on the next frame over. Totally been studying the condensing hive since I got into this hobby. And oh wait, look at this. Gotta see this. Look at this bee. All the way in. And there's this yellow clover. They're bringing in a lot of white pollen. Some mushrooms growing right there. Those aren't turkey tail, but they're in the same genus. I want to catch a bee on that because I hear that sometimes they... there was another one. They give them mycelium. In winter, we're having a lot of them drop off. In the morning, I'll find them on the board, and then they clean it up. I want to look real quick down at the bottom hive, down there, little hive. We've had a lot of rain. I should have dumped this bucket. It probably would have been half full again. That's how much rain. If you add about 6 or 8 inches to that, that's how much rain we've had in about the last month. Less than a month. And I put a makeshift insulation on this one, and yeah, they in the middle of the night they'll self evict or get dragged out on the bottom board, and then there was probably 50 bees on there this morning, and they've been cleaning it up, the mortician bees. This one had 210 on it in 2 days. There's somebody shooting their gun. 210, I think is what I said, or maybe it was 220. Anyway, this hive isn't as getting, it's a wood, so it doesn't get as warm. Let's see here, frame 1. Yeah, down here, right towards the front of the hive, it's still colder than I want. I know there's no brood right there right now, but 86 humidity. I want to try to get that to come up into the 70s. It's been, let's look at the history. I can even show more history of that. So I added the added insulation before this, but when it gets down to close to within 10 degrees of freezing, it's dropping down to 56, which I want to try to control that, keep that up into the mid 60s or maybe even in the 70s. That way they're not having to cluster. I noticed that the other hive, it's maintaining a pretty good temperature with the, it's an ergo, so it's insulated. This is doing a weird, let me do this. It's wanting to be sideways, and I want it to be sideways too, just like my videos. So cold 65, and then there's one other. This is up in the top. I gotta add another sensor as soon as I can get in the hive. Top 73, so that's not terrible. Humidity is 69. Let's look at the history. It does still drop down, but it's staying above 70, so that's cool. They'll break cluster and feed, but I'd like to get this to stay up in the mid 70s, kind of like the ergo, because I notice in the morning the ergo, they're flying as soon as the sun hits them. It could be less than 50 degrees, the sun hits, and they are flying like crazy. So you gotta work on that. This is a 2-day, and see, the other hive has had 1 or 2 more treatments than this one. I was thinking this one was more under control than it was, so there's a difference. And plus this the DE doesn't get wet in the wood hive because it actually is about 2 inches less width than the ergo. The wood has a bunch of little slots, vent slots on the outside and the front, and I've already sealed up the front ones, and I'm going to put some tape. I'm going to try to. It's going to be a mess. I might have to put a piece of some cardboard or something, or else I'm gonna get real dirty. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna shine it up. I'm doing this blind, but there's a row of horizontal slats that I want to get a little tape over, especially in the front. Maybe I'll leave a couple of the slats in the back open for drainage, but I want to put some, at minimum, just some painter's tape, some frog tape or something like that, along those slats. Try to keep it so it doesn't chill quite as much up in there. Trying to keep it. And then also I slid this. Oh, you're seeing this. Yeah, I did just jam this in, so doing that blind you probably couldn't see nothing. But there are slats along the side. You can see the ridge of where the bottom board slides in, and you may be able to see those slats. So I'm gonna have to yard this out to do that anyway. This is pretty much just to keep the draft out. You know, a lot of people put their hives out on the ground, and I've got mine up high enough to keep the pesky skunks from harassing them. So that didn't reveal much, but that's the plan. We're getting a handle on the mites. I imagine if I did a calculation of the estimated bees in this hive versus the bottom board, I could come out with a value kind of like these people that like to kill 200 bees by washing them in alcohol or Dawn soap. And that's one thing I don't do. And I think the bottom board is the, I've been saying this for a week or two, the canary in the coal mine on how a hive's doing. If you have a slide out bottom board, you can see where the brood is hatching out by what's left on the bottom board, and also where the if you're doing treatments, you can see where the varroa are dropping. So that'd be same as where the brood's coming out, or where the mass quantity of bees are, because they'll drop off the bees. So I'm learning, and definitely like the with the temperature sensors, I definitely like a insulated hive where the dew point doesn't get low on the top or on as much on the sides. A little bit on the sides is okay, because they'll drink that water off. So there we go. I'm gonna we'll see about, I want to put some tape on that those slats, horizontal slats, and look, I got diatomaceous earth on my shoes. Definitely want to get some stuff on the slats. And they stopped flying. These gals there's probably still a couple out foraging, but with the temperature and the sun, temperature down and the sun going away, there's less. I don't know, let's see if yeah, that bottom insulation slid, it just happened to be the right size to jam in there. There's a bee just came out, and I'm gonna jam some in here, and then probably add another one of my rubber bands. These things, I bought those for adding into sweatpants with the drawstring. Add in one of those in, so it kind of gives when you put a pocket knife in your pocket, your pants don't, or my pants don't go down to my knees. And winter, I have one. I'm going to try to restrict that bottom venting a little bit more. There's a bee that came out.